I'm Amanda, 34. Last week, my parents called me crying, begging for $27,500 to save their apartment from foreclosure, exactly what the bank demands to prevent immediate eviction. The irony? That's just 15% of what I invested in the house they promised me 6 years ago, before secretly transferring the deed to my older brother, while I paid the mortgage believing I was investing in my future. I didn't scream, I didn't break down. I just took a deep breath, looked at the magnificent California sunset through the window of my custom trailer, and said, "I'm sorry, but you'll have to reap what you've sown." Then I hung up. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted completely. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. Growing up in a middle-class family in Ohio, I learned early that my older brother, Lucas, was the priority. 2 years older than me, Lucas was always treated like the prodigy child. While he got private tutoring to improve his grades, I worked 2 jobs to pay for my college. When I broke my arm at 16, my parents canceled my birthday party to buy Lucas a new guitar. "You understand, right? He needs to feel special," my mom would say, as I swallowed back tears. Still, I remained loyal. I completed my degree in digital marketing, landed a stable corporate job at a renowned advertising agency, and when my parents faced financial problems at 28, I was the first to offer help. They were about to lose the family home due to accumulated debts, mostly to finance my brother's multiple failed courses and ventures. He was 30 by then. "We're drowning, Amanda," my father admitted one evening, his voice breaking. "The bank is threatening foreclosure." I immediately offered to help. That's who I was, the responsible one, the fixer. Do you know someone like that? The person who's always available to help family, no matter what? That was me. The solution seemed perfect. My parents proposed that I take over the mortgage payments, and in exchange, the house would be transferred to my name once paid off. "It's an investment in your future," my father stated, showing preliminary documents detailing our agreement. "You've always been the responsible one." I believed him. I trusted them completely. For 6 years, I sent $1,850 every month to cover the mortgage. My salary as a digital marketing manager allowed me to do this, though with significant sacrifices. I turned down promotions that would require relocation and lived in a modest apartment to save money. Whenever I asked to verify the legal status of the house, my parents always deflected. "The papers are with the lawyer," or "Trusting family is more important than paperwork." Amanda. Once, I signed documents my father assured were just formalities for refinancing, but which, as I would later discover, were part of the scheme to transfer the property. Meanwhile, Lucas, then 32, continued living in the house with my parents without contributing financially, pursuing his dream of becoming a famous musician. He frequently traveled with his band for small regional tours, sometimes staying away for weeks. On birthdays and holidays when I visited the house. My future house, I noticed small renovations and improvements. "We're adding value to your investment," my mother smiled. I believed I was finally getting recognition. I never questioned them. Not once. My colleagues couldn't understand why I lived so frugally while earning a good salary. They didn't know about the $1,150 leaving my account every month, money I believed was securing my future. "You could afford a much nicer place," my friend Sophia would tell me. "I'm investing in something better," I'd reply confidently. If only I had known what that investment really was. During those 6 years, I calculated exactly how much I put into that house. $133,200 in mortgage payments, plus $17,800 for repairs and improvements I had financed. A total of $151,000 savings that should have secured my future. Little did I know that future was being stolen from me. One signed document at a time. The truth came to light unexpectedly. During a surprise Sunday visit, I found the house empty except for Lucas, who was sleeping after returning from a 3-month tour. On the kitchen table, papers were scattered documents he'd clearly been reviewing before falling asleep on the couch. My heart stopped when I recognized the bank's logo. It was a second mortgage requested 3 months earlier for $85,000. The initial shock turned to nausea when I saw the name on the deed. Lucas Martin. Not Amanda Martin. Lucas. With trembling hands, I photographed every document. I discovered the house had never been transferred to my name as promised. In fact, 2 years after our agreement, when I had already invested more than $44,000, my parents secretly transferred the property to Lucas, using documents they had me sign under false pretenses. I was still paying the original mortgage, believing I was investing in my future. Even more shocking, the second mortgage had been used to finance a recording studio for Lucas's band in the house's basement and to cover my parents' growing debts. Approximately $40,000 of the $85,000 had gone directly to the studio equipment and soundproofing, with the remainder covering credit card debts and other expenses they'd accumulated. "What the hell?" I whispered, hand over my mouth to prevent myself from screaming. My fingers felt numb as I continued taking photos of every incriminating page. The dates, signatures, notary stamps, all evidence of a calculated betrayal spanning years. I heard Lucas stirring in the living room. Quickly, I rearranged the papers exactly as I'd found them and slipped out the back door. In my car, I finally broke down. 6 years of sacrifices, of believing I was building something for myself, shattered in minutes. Tears streamed down my face as I drove away, my vision so blurred I had to pull over. I immediately called my best friend, Sophia. I drove to her apartment in a state of shock, the digital copies of the documents weighing on my phone like lead. "Amanda, this isn't just a betrayal. It's literally fraud," Sophia said after examining the photos. "They took your money for 6 years, over $130,000, while deceiving you. You need to confront them and possibly seek legal counsel." It was the first time someone validated my indignation, instead of telling me to understand their side or keep family peace. Sophia not only acknowledged the injustice, but showed me my reaction wasn't exaggerated. "What if I just stop paying?" I asked, the idea emerging like a thread of hope amid the chaos. "Honestly, the house is legally theirs. If you stop paying, they'll bear the consequences," Sophia responded, her eyes reflecting the same indignation I felt. "A legal process could recover your money," she suggested. "But that would mean years of battles, expensive lawyers, and being perpetually connected to them through this conflict." I reflected on that. I don't want revenge. I want freedom. If I sue, I'll be tied to them and this betrayal for years. For the first time, I allowed myself to imagine a different life, one where I wasn't defined by family obligations or false promises. "What would you do if you weren't paying that mortgage anymore?" Sophia asked softly. The question hung in the air like an open door. "I've always wanted to travel," I whispered, the dream I'd suppressed for years finally taking shape. "See the world, experience different cultures." "So why not do it?" Sophia challenged. "You have skills that allow you to work remotely. What's stopping you?" "Responsibility," I answered automatically. "To whom? People who lied to you for 6 years?" Her words hit me like cold water. She was right. "I need time to think," I said, already feeling something shifting inside me. A possibility. A choice. I spent that night at Sophia's apartment, unable to face going home. My phone buzzed with texts from my mother. "Are you coming for dinner Sunday? Lucas is back from tour." As if nothing was wrong. As if they hadn't stolen my future. I spent a week processing what I'd discovered, not returning my parents' persistent calls. "We're worried about you," their messages said. No mention of the documents I had found. During this week, I reviewed 6 years of bank statements. I calculated exactly how much I had invested in that house. $133,200 in mortgage payments, plus $17,800 for repairs and improvements I had financed. A total of $151,000 savings that should have secured my future. While organizing these numbers, an idea began to take shape. For years, I had dreamed of traveling, seeing the world, experiencing other cultures. At the agency where I worked, my digital marketing specialty put me in a privileged position. They had offered me a position with remote work flexibility 3 times, and 3 times I had declined due to my responsibility with the house. I started researching mobile living options, digital nomad communities, travel bloggers. My digital marketing experience could be an advantage if I decided to create my own blog. A life that once seemed impossible began to materialize as a real option. I consulted with an attorney, bringing copies of all the documents I had photographed, including the preliminary agreement we had drafted 6 years ago. His assessment was sobering. "You have a case for fraudulent misrepresentation," he explained, "but litigation would be expensive and time-consuming. Even with a favorable judgment, collecting could take years if they don't have liquid assets." "What about the house itself?" I asked. "It's been legally transferred to your brother. We could challenge that, but if he's taken out a second mortgage, it complicates matters significantly." The more we discussed legal options, the more trapped I felt. Even if I won, I'd be tethered to this betrayal for years financially, emotionally, and practically. Meanwhile, my parents' calls became more frequent. Their voicemails shifted from concern to confusion to mild irritation. "Amanda, we haven't heard from you in days. Is everything okay? Your brother is asking about you. He says you came by but didn't stay. Amanda, this is getting ridiculous. Call us back." Not once did they mention the documents I had discovered or the betrayal they had orchestrated. I finally replied with a brief text. "I'm fine. Need some time. We'll call soon." That bought me the space I needed to make my plan. First, I approached my boss about the remote position they had offered previously. "I've been reconsidering your offer," I said during our meeting. "Is that remote position still available?" His eyebrows shot up in surprise. "The one you've turned down 3 times? What changed?" "Everything," I replied simply. "Well, we'd still love to have you transition to remote work. Your performance has been exemplary, and frankly, we've been hoping you'd reconsider." Just like that, the first piece fell into place. Next, I contacted a financial advisor to understand how to best utilize my remaining savings. After paying the mortgage for so long, I had less than I should have, but still enough to make a significant change. If I wanted to invest in a quality trailer to live and work from, what would be my best options? I asked. She didn't even blink at the unusual question. "Let's look at your finances and make a plan." By the end of the week, I had a clear financial strategy. Use part of my savings for a down payment on a quality trailer, sell most of my belongings to create additional capital, and maintain my full-time remote job while developing my travel blog on the side. I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Excitement, possibility, hope. That Sunday, I finally answered my parents' call. "We need to talk," I said firmly. "Let's meet for lunch tomorrow." "Is everything okay?" my mother asked, concern tinged with something else, fear perhaps. "We'll discuss everything tomorrow," I replied and hung up. Have you ever had that moment when you realize your entire life is about to change? Drop a comment below if you've experienced that mixture of terror and exhilaration. I chose a public restaurant for our meeting deliberately. In the 2 weeks between my discovery and our encounter, I had made decisions that would change my life. I formally requested the remote position at the agency, which was still available. I planned to keep my job while developing my blog, ensuring financial stability during the transition. I sold almost all my belongings, keeping only the essentials. And most importantly, I used part of my savings and a recent bonus to make a down payment on a high-quality trailer and customized it to serve as a mobile home and office. My parents arrived at the restaurant looking worried. Lucas wasn't with them, which was a relief. "Amanda, what's going on? We've been so worried," my mother began, reaching for my hand across the table. I pulled back slightly, maintaining a polite smile. "I found some interesting documents at the house 2 weeks ago." The color drained from both their faces. What documents?" my father stammered, though his expression made it clear he already knew. I placed my phone on the table, screen up, showing a photo of the deed with Lucas's name. "These documents? And the second mortgage papers? And the transfer of ownership forms that I apparently signed." My mother's hand flew to her mouth. "Amanda, we can explain." "I'm sure you can," I interrupted calmly. "You can explain how you promised me the house would be transferred to my name after I paid the mortgage, but instead secretly gave it to Lucas. You can explain how you had me sign papers under false pretenses. You can explain the $85,000 second mortgage for Lucas's recording studio." "It wasn't just for the studio," my father protested weakly. "We had other debts." "That's not the point," I said, my voice steady despite the anger burning inside me. "The point is that you lied to me for 6 years while taking over $150,000 of my money." They exchanged panicked glances. "What are you going to do?" my father finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not going to sue you, if that's what you're worried about," I replied. "Though I could. According to the lawyer I consulted." Their eyes widened at the mention of a lawyer. "What I am going to do is inform you that I won't be making any more mortgage payments. Starting next month, that's your responsibility again." But we can't afford it," my mother blurted out. "You know we can't. Then you'll have to figure something out. Sell the house, perhaps. Or ask Lucas to contribute, since he's the legal owner now." "Where will you live?" my father demanded, as if trying to find a flaw in my plan. I smiled, feeling genuinely light for the first time in years. "I've purchased a trailer. I'll be working remotely and traveling." They both stared at me in disbelief before my father let out a derisive laugh. "A trailer? You're going to live like some kind of vagrant? After all your education, your career?" "I'm going to live free," I corrected him. "On my terms, for once." "This is ridiculous," my mother hissed. "What will people think?" "I don't care what people think anymore. I only care what I think. And I think it's time I lived for myself." As I stood to leave, my father grabbed my wrist. "You'll regret this, Amanda. When you come crawling back, don't expect us to help you." I gently removed his hand. "I won't be coming back, and I won't need your help." Walking out of that restaurant, I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time in my adult life, I was making a choice solely for myself, not to please my parents, not to help my brother, not to fulfill some arbitrary family obligation. I was choosing freedom. As I drove back to my apartment, soon to be my former apartment, I realized I hadn't felt a single moment of doubt during the confrontation. No second guessing, no wavering. Just absolute certainty that I was finally making the right choice for myself. The chaos that followed was predictable. Legal threats, which had no foundation, since the documents I signed were obtained under false pretenses. Emotional appeals. Attempts to have Lucas talk to me, as if he could convince me to continue financing his lifestyle. You can't be serious about living in a trailer. My father laughed when I mentioned my plans. That's for losers, Amanda. You have a degree, a career,